What's up everybody, this is Master EN Gamer, and as the BlizzCon and Hero 29 hype continues, today I wanted to explore the possibilities for the new hero when it comes to their identity. Perhaps one of Overwatch's greatest strengths is its characters and their diversity, and so with so many characters in the game's universe who aren't yet a part of the playable roster, there are quite a few names and faces to consider. But with some of these characters having much more potential than others, today I'm going to look through who's the most likely when it comes to filling the role of Hero 29. First up, let's examine a group of characters, and that's the Mecha Squad. These four, aside from D.Va, being Casino, Demon, King, and Overlord, all possess unique mechs and character designs which could possibly work their way into the game at some point sooner or later. However, not all mecha pilots are created equal. In a previous video of mine, I analyzed each squad member individually and determined that Overlord has the best chance of one day making it into the game. This is due to a combination of his unique mech design and apparent abilities, as well as the fact that his mech is the only one of the four that isn't nearly twice the size of Reinhardt, thus making them incompatible with just about every current map in the game. I wouldn't 100% rule out the possibility of one of these other three joining the roster despite this obstacle, but Overlord definitely seems to hold the most potential, which is why I've actually made an Overlord hero concept video talking about what his role and abilities could be. Feel free to check that out through the card on screen if you want, but otherwise, what are the odds of a Mecha Squad member being Hero 29 specifically? Given that Hero 29 is likely going to be a main tank of some kind and could offer some form of counter to crowd control, getting a mecha member does seem plausible. This role wouldn't match with my theorized kit for Overlord, but Blizzard could very easily surprise us with something rather unexpected for him or any of the other pilots. Given that they'd all pretty much have to be tank heroes simply due to their sheer size, I could easily see one of them fitting the main tank category that we currently need. However, given that we just got the Shooting Star animated short and Busan map, getting a mecha hero so soon on top of all that might be a little bit of South Korea overload. I for one would love to see another mecha pilot get added, but I just don't feel that the time is right. I may be wrong, but for the time being, let's look at some other candidates who could instead be Hero 29. Next up is one of my personal favorites, which is Pharah's father and Ana's former husband/partner, Sam. Sam has always intrigued me because he's a perfect example of a character which the Overwatch devs have clearly put a lot of thought into planning out and writing, but have made very little of that public thus far. Over the 2.5 years since the game's launch, we've gradually learned more and more about him. We've learned that his name is Sam, him and Ana are currently estranged, he's some kind of public servant, is of indigenous Pacific Northwest descent, and currently lives in Canada where Pharah visits him from time to time. We also have two images of him, one being a spray from the 2017 Archives event, and one from the 2016 Reflections comic. Beyond these things though, his character is pretty much a mystery. Whether Blizzard plans to ever make him a playable hero or just keep him as a side character to help flesh out Pharah and Ana's backstories is currently unknown. Personally, I could see it going either way. On the one hand, getting an indigenous Canadian hero would be a first, and is something that I would love to see. However, at the same time, we have no real leads to suggest what role or abilities he may possess. Being a public servant could range anywhere from being a politician, to a police officer, to a DMV clerk. If he is something like a police officer, or maybe a firefighter, then that could lead to some rather interesting character aspects and abilities. The closest thing we have to that currently would be Orisa, who, as far as we know, isn't even officially recognized by Nambani's government. While some people may point to the recently added Pharah voice line as evidence of Sam coming into the limelight pretty soon, I don't think that's the case. For reference, here's the voice line interaction.
Fariha, any plans for the winter?
I'm going to head to Canada to see my dad.
The reason I don't think this is indicative of anything is because we've gotten plenty of references to characters like this in the past, and they don't seem to have any correlation to the character becoming a hero or the time frame of their release. Reinhardt had voice lines referencing Brigitte almost 2 years before her release, as well as Reaper having voice lines referencing Doomfist and Moira long before their editions. Thus, it's not really a good indicator one way or the other, but rather is just another reminder that the character still exists in the game's story. story. Overall, I don't expect Sam to be Hero 29 any more than I expect it to be any random character we've never heard of before. Granted, that doesn't mean that it's impossible, but rather that there's just not any evidence to suggest Hero 29 being him over anyone else. I suspect Sam could still be a hero who is a long ways off, but I'm certainly interested in seeing whatever new clues and hints we get about him as time goes on. Next, let's consider a character who's similar to Sam, except even more obscure, and that's Liao. While most of you are likely already familiar with Liao, let me give a brief recap for those of you who aren't. Liao was the 6th founding member of Overwatch, being the only one who currently isn't a hero in-game, and they aren't this person. That's it. That's literally all we know about them. We don't know their gender, if they're still alive, or heck, if they're even still officially part of the story. Given that it's now been more than 3 years since the single time they were officially mentioned, it's well within the realm of possibility that they've silently been retconned during that time. Personally, I suspect they're like Sam in that the devs know who Liao is, and are just waiting for the right time to give us more information. But in the meantime, I've actually made a video theorizing who Liao might be, and what they could be up to currently in the Overwatch story. It's an older video of mine, but the theory still stands, so I'll include a card to it on screen if you want to check it out. One thing to note before I mention my last few candidates is the teasers we may or may not be getting for the new hero prior to their release at BlizzCon. The previous 2 BlizzCon heroes, being Sombra and Moira, didn't have the same kind of pre-release teasers that other heroes have gotten. Sombra had her incredibly long and complicated ARG, and Moira had nothing. Absolutely nothing. She had a cameo in the Masquerade comic, but there was no actual build-up of teasers preceding her reveal at BlizzCon 2017. So what does this mean for Hero 29? Well, given that we haven't had another ARG, or at least not one that's been discovered, we might be getting another Moira situation. The thing about BlizzCon heroes is that they don't need build-up in the same way that other hero releases do. People already expect big announcements to be made at BlizzCon, so there's no need to further tease something specific like a hero when it comes to drawing in the community's attention. Therefore, I don't really expect us to get much, if anything, preceding their reveal. At the time of me recording, BlizzCon is about 2 weeks away, meaning that we'll have to wait and see to know for sure, but I really don't expect any more than maybe one Twitter teaser to serve as perhaps a slight indicator as for who it could be, but otherwise, I'm not expecting anything. If there is a teaser of some kind, then I'll be sure to keep you guys up to date, as well as once the hero themselves are announced at BlizzCon. Anyways, one more very popular candidate that I see mentioned a lot when it comes to potential new heroes is the Omnic Maximilian. I'm sure he needs no introduction, and for the record, I think he's a cool character, but I'm still firmly convinced that he's not going to be an upcoming hero, at least not anytime soon. I talked about this in a video I made prior to the release of Wrecking Ball, but I'll try to summarize all my points quickly again here. There are 2 main factors playing against his potential to be a hero. First is that everything we know about him indicates that he's non-combative. Being a casino owner, nothing about his appearance or identity suggests that he physically fights in any way, but rather is someone who specifically avoids getting his suit dirty. While there are ways this could be worked around, such as by using drones or even a mech to keep Maximilian partially or completely out of the fight itself, those don't resolve the discontinuity between being a calm, collected businessman and an active fighter. If he wanted someone dead, he would almost certainly have an underling do it, rather than himself being the one to pull the trigger. While we do already have some heroes who fit this non-combative description, and yet are still playable, this aspect of Maximilian still works against his probability of being added. But even more condemning is the second factor, which is that he got a named player icon as part of the 2018 Archives event. Unlike the Demolition icon, which was available before Doomfist's release, and was just a reference to his character, this is his literal name and face in the exact same format as every other hero's named icon, meaning that adding him as a hero would prevent them from giving him the corresponding icon, since it's already in-game and is exclusive to an event. While Blizzard could just shift it from the Archives loot pool to the base one, that then calls into question why they added it to the event in the first place. At the time of Retribution, Blizzard undoubtedly already knew who Hero 29 would be, so knowingly sticking it into the event would just have have been an unintuitive decision on their part. I don't think it's impossible for us to ever see him become a hero in one form or another, but for the time being, I would strongly recommend against getting your hopes up for him. If there's further story development around him that suggests some kind of newfound potential, then I'd reconsider. But currently, he seems to just be a cool character who helps to flesh out Talon and its other members. Anyways, now that I've got that disheartening explanation out of the way, you may have also noticed that I haven't yet mentioned two of the arguably most popular new hero candidates we have currently, being the Junker Queen and Sanjay. The reason for this is that since they're both very likely candidates with a lot of details to examine, I'm gonna talk about them each in their own videos. In fact, I've already uploaded the Junker Queen one, which I'm sure many of you have already seen, but if not, I'll include a card to it on screen. As for Sanjay, his video will be out within a few days, so be sure to stay tuned to my channel to not miss its release. Beyond these names and faces we've seen before, it's also entirely possible for us to get someone completely new, that we've never had teased in any way. I'm personally not a huge fan of Blizzard doing this, but given how few leads we really have to go on this time around, I'd actually consider it to be one of the more likely possibilities. If that's the case, then all we can really do is just wait. It's not long until BlizzCon at this point, so thankfully there's not a whole lot of time left before we'll end up seeing who the new hero really is. But these have just been my thoughts and predictions for who Hero 29 could be, so be sure to leave your own thoughts about them in the comments down below. Do you think they'll be a character we've seen before, or will it be someone completely new out of left field? Either way, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and share it with a friend if you really liked it. Subscribe, hit the bell, and follow me on Twitter to keep up with all my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, our new hero awaits, so have a great day.